Back. So we're on to the fourth unit of the GCSE course, which is really the last of the foundation units. So this is predominantly things that you would have seen in years 7 and 8, but it's divided into two halves. The first is around calculating with fractions, and then the second part is around the equivalent of fractions, decimals and percentages. And this is the last of the foundational unit, which means that it's going to be used in everything that comes up later on in the course. So it's really important that we understand this incredibly well. So we're going to just start with the idea of equivalent fractions, and fractions are equal, or what we call equivalent, if they represent the same proportion of a shape. So what you can see here is half a shape is shaded. I know that it's half a shape because it's divided into two equal parts and the top half is shaded. Now, if I were to take my pen and to draw a red line down here, we should see that I've got now 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts, and the parts have to be equal, of which 2 are shaded. So I can say that a half is the same, because it covers the same area, as these 2 quarters. Okay, well, let's go a bit further. If I draw a line in here, you might start to say, well, okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 4 out of 6 shaded. That's not quite right, because these parts are not the same size as these parts. Remember, everything needs to be the same size, so I need to draw another line down here. Now you can see that each part is the same. Each part contains 3 squares. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 shaded out of 5, 6, 7, 8 in total. So it's the same as 4 out of 8. If I carry on drawing some lines, so I'm going to draw a line in here so that each part now just contains 1 block of my exercise book, 1 square of my exercise book. I should be able to see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 shaded out of another 12 here, so it's 12 out of 24. So all of those are the same. And there's a simple rule here, that as long as we multiply the numerator, which is the top number, and the denominator, the bottom number, by the same amount, we should have an equivalent fraction. So here, for example, I've times the numerator by 2, and because I've times the denominator by 2 as well, that fraction remains equivalent. I'm not going to do the next one, it's just timesing both by 4, but if I do this one over here, I've times the numerator by 12, I've times the denominator by 12, so I know that those are going to be equivalent fractions. So we're now going to do some questions which involve finding the missing number, and this is really useful when it comes to addition and subtraction of fractions later on. So let's look at the first example. I've got 2 denominators. I've got thirds and 18ths over here. So to go from thirds to 18ths, I would have had to have times by 6. I can work that out by doing 18 divided by 3 is 6. So I must need to times by 6 here. 2 times 6 gives me an answer there of 12. So 2 thirds is the same as 12 out of 18. The next one is slightly more complicated. Well, let's have a look at why. So it's not obvious how I can go from 6 to 4. I'm not multiplying it by a whole number, I'm not dividing it by a whole number. And this is a really common question for the GCSE. So we start with 6 out of 9. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is to ask, can I make that simpler? Well, yes, I can divide both of those numbers by 3. So let's start by doing that. If I divide them both by 3, 6 divided by 3 is going to give me 2, and 9 divided by 3 is going to give me 3. So 6 ninths is the same as 2 thirds. I know that must equal 4 somethings. Well, here, to go from 2 to 4, I've times by 2, so I need to do the same here, times by 2. And it gives me an answer of 4 out of 6. Let's see if we can do the same on this one. This time we're working backwards. We've got 3 out of 15 over here. I can make that simpler. Both top and bottom can be divided by 3. So let's work backwards. Divide by 3 gives me 1, and divide by 3 down here gives me 5. So it's the same as 1 out of 5. I know that I need to get to it being out of 10, so let's have a look. I must have times by 2. So times by 2 here, and it's the same as 2 out of 10. So my missing number there should be 2. Okay, can you pause the video while you just make sure you've got those examples written down, and then you're going to go on and have a go at 9 fairly quick questions. Okay, questions 1 to 6 should be fairly straightforward for you. You're just looking for what the multiplier is for either the numerator or the denominator. For questions 7, 8, and 9, you are going to need to simplify the fractions first before you find the missing number. Pause the video, have a go at the questions, and then unpause and we'll work through the solutions. So time to have a quick look at the solutions. So for the first one, 5 times 2 gave me 10, so I'm going to have to do the same to 7. Multiply it by 2 is going to give me an answer of 14. 7 times 2 is 14, so I'm going to do the 8 times 2, which is 16. 3 times 6 is 18, so 2 times 6 is 12. 12 times 3 is 36, so 7 times 3 is 21. 8 times 8 is 64, 7 times 8 then is 56 there. 15 times 7 is 105, so 6 times 7 gives me 42. Here I'm going to need to put in a step to simplify my 16 out of 24. 8 goes into both 16 and 24. 24 divided by 8 is 3. 16 divided by 8 is 2. 3 times 3 is 9, so I'm going to have to do 2 times 3 as well, which gives me 6 out of 9. Here again I'm going to need to simplify. 2 goes into both 6 and 10. Divided by 2 gives me 3 out of 5. Times it by 3 gives me 9 out of 15. Working backwards here, 25 divided by 5 gives me 5. 20 divided by 5 gives me 4. 5 times 2 is 10. 4 times 2 is 8. So 8 is your final answer. Okay, I'll just put in the final answers there in case it's not clear. 8 out of 10. Give yourself then, pause the video, mark your work please. And now give yourself a mark out of 9 for that exercise. If you need any further assistance on that one, please look at Hegarty clip number 59. Well done.